This is Jeff Campbell. Today is December 14th, 2015. I'm interviewing for the first time Malcolm Lynn Morrow and Martha Morrow Gamblin. This interview is taking place at the Interurban Railway Museum in Plano, Texas. This interview is sponsored by the Plano Conservancy for Historic Preservation, and it's part of our oral history project. So we get a lot of people in this museum, and I know you've been here before, so what brought you up to this museum? Martha.
Lynn had come to the museum and told me about the picture, and I had to come see for myself.
Now, who's in the picture?
My daddy.
Your dad.
M.A.
Okay.
Buddy Morrow.
And he worked for the Texas Electric Railway.
Yes.
And what did he do?
He was a motorman.
And what route did he have?
I can remember, I'm talking about Denton and Dallas.
So he did the,
I think he did Denison, though, because he came through
Denison.
McKinney.
Yeah, I came through McKinney.
So it had to be the Denison
All right.
route. We used to think it was the Denton,
yeah,
but
No, Denison,
after
that's right,
studying the
Denison.
map,
yeah,
we lived in McKinney.
this route went from Dallas up to Denison
Right.
and Sherman, so it would have been the Denison-Sherman route.
Right.
So how many years did he work as a motorman?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Okay.
Well, let's see. I was born in 44, and we lived in Dallas. And in 46, we lived on Waddell Street in McKinney.
I know where Waddell Street is.
So I think it's around 46. Because in 48 or 49, we moved to Bradley Street,
Okay.
which is just around the corner
And 48 was the last year
of the.
for the.
My sister was born in 48, so.
Okay. So did he move to, did the family move to McKinney because of the job? Or
We don't know.
you don't
I
know?
have no idea.
Okay.
I kind of think so because during the war, Daddy worked at the North American, and we lived in Dallas.
Now, what was North American?
They built airplanes for the
Built
war.
airplanes
Yeah.
for the war.
And it was out by Fair Park at that time.
Okay.
Now they're in California, but it was out there. He worked out there. I've got a picture somewhere of him at work out at North American.
Okay. So after the war, he went to work for.
See, and his parents lived in McKinney.
Okay.
I mean, in Princeton.
Princeton. All
Yes,
right.
he was born in Princeton. Daddy was born in Princeton on March the 11th, 1916.
And Princeton's probably 10, 15 miles east of McKinney.
Yeah,
The
something
next-
like that.
next
yeah,
town over.
About
yeah.
10 miles, I think.
Okay.
Seemed like a long time way back then when we were going.
One thing I've never seen and wondered about is, did he pick up his car in McKinney, or did he have to drive to Dallas, or did he have to?
No, it was parked in McKinney.
It was parked in McKinney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can remember Mother taking us down there in the car to pick him up at night. I don't know what time it was. I mean, preschool for me, so I don't know what time of night it was, whether it was like 7 o'clock in the evening or midnight. I don't know what time. I have no clue, but we would drive down and park in the street, and he would stop in the street, stop the Interurban in the street. We would go get on it, and he'd turn into the parking lot and drive down and bump the barricade. I
Okay.
remember standing in the front of the car, and
He parked the car in McKinney.
Okay. All right.
and we bumped the barricade and stopped, and he'd turn it off, and he pulled the power trolley down, whatever you call that thing.
And that was a big thrill for us. We got to ride on the Interurban. That wasn't but 4 years old when it went out.
I can't imagine, we probably rode maybe 100 yards or 100 feet. I don't know how long the parking space was.
So the next morning,
He-
Mom would take him.
Right, back down, because we only had the one car.
Oh, okay.
A 1948 Ford.
And I don't remember I don't remember him going down there. I remember just picking him up at night. So
You were probably asleep in the morning.
I might just,
Yeah, back then you could go off and leave a kid asleep. Now, you can't do that. But like I said, Gail was born in 48, so, they didn't have kindergarten and all that. We were mighty young.
So do you ever ride, either one of you ride the Interurban anywhere besides there in McKinney?
I kind of vaguely remember him taking us like up to Denison and bringing us back to Mother, and probably because Mother had a doctor's appointment or something, and they didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But I remember, I know one time we rode up to the end of the line, and then that's all Daddy did was drive up to Denison and come back to McKinney. I don't know how long it took. I don't know.
And I don't remember riding somewhere with Mother, but I don't remember where we went or anything. I just remember being on the car with her. Yes.
Where was I? I had to have been there. I was always
I
there.
don't know where you were. But I just remember being on the car.
I don't remember that.
and sitting and seeing the countryside go by and starting and stopping. Yes.
So then, the Interurban goes out of business at the end of 48, and both of y'all would have been really young, but were there any family concerns about where Dad's gonna go to
Daddy
work after that?
Daddy went to work in a lumber yard
In McKinney.
in McKinney after that. And then I don't remember how he did it, but he got on back then it was Timco. Now it's LTV.
Okay.
He got on at Timco and he was driving from McKinney to Grand Prairie. And sometimes, well, a lot of the times he got a ride. Mother would take him to Allen. There was a gas station there. That was all. And you look shocked. And then he would ride in with somebody and then do the reverse in the afternoon. And but he went to work for a lumber yard. Because the reason I remember is because we had a telephone, and Mother called Daddy at work one day and said, "My scrub board broke." Now there's three of us, and Dale's a baby, and Daddy said, "Well, I'll stop and pick you up one on the way home." And Mother said, "Oh no. No. You stop and get me a washing machine."
Get a washing machine.
He came home with a Ringer washer for her.
I don't remember that at all.
Mother told me about that. Yeah. I remember.
I do remember the lumber yard though. And
Mother and Daddy got married May the 30th, 1939,
Okay.
and he was born in 42 then.
So this is after World War II, so the economy's pretty good. So it's probably fairly easy to get another job.
Well, back then it was. In
Yeah.
39, Daddy worked for the WPA
Yes. Okay.
in Royce City, and he was a timekeeper, made $1 an hour. I mean, that was a lot of money in 39,
Yeah.
but the government's paying him.
Mm-hmm.
So they were building a sidewalk from downtown Royce City out to the cemetery. And there was this real pretty little girl that walked to school up that road every day. And he married her.
Okay.
That's how he met Mama.
Well, did he ever talk about working on Interurban and?
I remember telling him about it, and he knew all the hand signals with the lantern, how to use the lantern like the trains used to do.
Yeah.
He knew the signals. I don't know them, and he explained it to him. Often known as, I saw him demonstrate it as a kid, but I don't remember what they were now. But because I don't know whether the Interurbans used the lantern signals or not, but did work for one of the railroads one time for a short time in Dallas, and he was hurt in an accident and bummed up his knees. He fell off the top of a boxcar.
Wow.
And that's the reason he didn't get drafted in World War II.
Okay.
Yeah, he couldn't.
But,
And he had a broken arm.
and he had a broken arm. Too.
Yeah, I remember seeing his arm in a cast.
So, but he knew those hands, the lantern signals, and you waved it or up and down or whatever. I don't know.
I bet he could remember them too. Daddy never forgot. Daddy was just brilliant with math.
But,
I mean, he was just brilliant in math. And he did something that a lot of kids didn't do back then. He graduated from high school.
Really?
There was only 11 grades, but he graduated from high school.
Well, the picture we have of him in the museum, he's kind of got his motorman hat cocked to the
That's
side.
kind of scary, yeah.
He's kind of got his chest out. He seems like a real confident guy. Was that how
Yes.
he was?
yeah.
Yeah, he was very confident.
Okay.
And when he wore just a regular hat, he never had it on just straight. It was always a little askew. He was a very confident Turned out to be a very big man.
And you brought in a check stub from his paycheck. What can you tell me about this?
Well, it's from
Check
January
stub.
31st, 1948. He made a grand total of $132.36
For half a month.
for a half a month. And yeah, it does not say for 2 weeks. It says for half a month.
Any other mementos you have from interurban days?
I
Or?
do have a cap.
You have a cap?
Morgan's cap.
Okay. I think
It's like the one out here.
yeah, I think I've seen the cap.
It's not in really good shape. It won't fit. I wish it fit me, but it won't fit me. I don't know to put it on. Put on a white shirt and tie, kind of like his picture there. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the men back there suggested that Lynn come over and wear the hat and, do a tour. He can't wear the hat.
Well, we have some in the back. They're replicas that our people wear.
We have the real deal.
The real, yeah.
But and he's got it in a glass enclosed case thing now to help preserve it because it's made of silk, so it was deteriorating
Yeah,
after,
I can, yeah, I can imagine.
after 60 something years.
I did pay someone to hand stitch part of the materials coming loose. They hand stitched it very carefully.
Paid a fortune.
Kind of restored it, and cleaned it a little bit too.
Yeah, it was not taken care of, and that's a shame.
Now, when you lived in McKinney, wasn't there a streetcar in McKinney also?
They had a bus system too.
They had a bus system?
Yeah, because Lynn and I used.
Street cars.
No, you're right. I don't remember a street. I remember the
Buses,
bus.
yeah.
Okay, streetcars may have been before the war.
Yeah, before our time.
But I remember seeing the tracks in McKinney for interurban tracks. I remember seeing those through town.
Yeah. Was the station in McKinney on the square near the courthouse?
I don't know where it must have been close to it. I think, but I'm not sure.
In fact, we were just talking about that we're going to go up there and see if we can find where it was.
Well, if you go all the way to Van Alstyne, the tracks are still in the street. You can still see them in the street.
Yeah, we were just talking about that we'd like to go up there and see if we can find, because I don't remember it all. I mean.
And when you get up to Melissa and Anna, if you're going up 5, you can look at the side and see
The track.
the tree line where the tracks used to be right by the pub.
And those streets in McKinney.
No.
No,
Yeah, Melissa and Anna are the next 2 cities north.
Oh, next to
of-
town. Okay.
Yeah. Daddy was living in Melissa at one time.
And
It was after him and Mother got married, I think, because I had a love letter from Daddy to Mother. And he was in Melissa. It may have been before they got married. Gail's got it now.
well, I know during as a young man, he did a lot of things to
Anything to survive.
anything. But he would always get a job. He'd always get a job. It might not have been a good job. He was always find a job.
Yeah.
And no matter what happened, he'd always find a job somewhere or somehow do something. Him and his brother bought some rolls of wire and some little porcelain insulators, went around wiring houses when electricity come through Princeton.
Really? Really? So what time period, when would that be?
I have no idea. I just remember him doing it. And
Okay.
he was
Had-
he'd do plumbing, electrical work. He built houses in McKinney. That the inspector, said, who plumbed this house? Who wired it? Buddy Morrow. Okay. You go back to the office. He didn't inspect it.
People did not know who M.A. Morrow was or Malcolm Alonzo Morrow was. They knew Buddy Morrow. And we don't know how, I don't know how he got that name.
I don't either. Never heard.
I never heard. I talked to his nephew, our cousin. We've got one surviving cousin, our first cousin on that side, and we got 2. But anyway, I talked to his cousin. He's in his 80s now, and because I wanted to verify that was Daddy, and he looked at that picture and he said, "Oh yeah, that's Uncle Bud. That's who you need to get over here and talk to."
Okay. We'll put him on the list.
Yeah, his name is Bob Moorhead, and he remembers back then. Now, like I said, he's in his 80s now, and he's had a stroke, but he looked at that picture and said, "It's Uncle Bud." Like I said, we don't know where he got the name, but But Daddy would have graduated from high school in 33. So sometime between 33 and 39 was when he was doing all of this, wherever he could get a job.
Doing anything to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I know in 39 he worked for the WPA. And I don't know where, because right after they got married, he took Mother to our grandparents' house, and he went somewhere and worked. And it may be in Melissa, I don't know. We made a terrible mistake. Our mom died 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and we should have questioned her more. My daddy died back in 91, but Mother died in 11, and we should, it's been 4 years, I guess.
So back to the hat, when the Interurban went bankrupt and went out of business, they let the guys just keep their hats.
I assume they did.
I mean,
that's the reason I've got it. And he had an old money changer, and I don't know what happened to the money changer.
I don't either.
he had a money changer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember seeing
You
it.
hook onto your belt.
Yeah, I've seen those, and
But I don't know what happened to
I was told that they didn't use those. Have you heard that?
Daddy used it.
Somebody told me they didn't use those, but I've seen them before.
Yeah, Daddy had one he wore.
We had one, and I remember him telling me he used it on the Interurban, but I don't know
what happened to it. You're right.
Well, another little side thing too is I've got an old steel wheelbarrow. It's got the steel wheel, and it's got some writing on it. I need to try to figure out what it says. But I was always told that was a railroad wheelbarrow from railroad maintenance or construction crews.
Probably is.
I have no idea, and I don't know how he might have bought it surplus, or he might have just pushed it off when he left the job or whatever. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's too late. You can't do anything
I
about
think
it.
the limitations have ran out.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many days a week he would work, or how often?
I know he was off on Sunday because we always went to church.
Did he ever take you or the family on the Interurban on his days off anywhere?
Not that I know of. Sunday is the only day I know that he was off. We always went to church. So.
Well, this is we're looking at the check stub. That's about 145 hours for 2 weeks. That's about 70 hours a week.
He worked a lot.
I don't.
I'm sure he worked 6 days.
It says it's half a month there, so that's still a pretty good amount of time. We got a lot of overtime too.
Yes,
Almost
yeah.
30 hours.
And I don't know what their standard work week was. I assume it's 40, but I don't know. It might
Well, back then there was probably no standard.
yeah, it might not be a standard.
Probably not, and most likely they started early in the morning and went all the way to.
And we
The
didn't
late
have
at
daylight
night.
savings time back then, so it was, and in the winter, I'm sure it was a long, long day, from night to night.
I can remember when he came in to park the Interurban car in McKinney. It was at night. I don't remember it ever being in the daytime. It seemed like it's always at night.
Always at night, yeah.
I don't remember any daytime. I remember riding with him
In the daytime.
Mother and I, and I don't remember you over there.
Yeah.
And it was always in the daytime. But
Wonder where y'all rode to? Came into Dallas, or?
I want to say so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that would have been a really big deal to go to Dallas from
Oh, yeah.
out in McKinney or.
Yeah, because Plano was not a wide place in the road. And
So what was Plano then? Since we're here in Plano, what was
all of this old downtown, it was just,
just old downtown?
yeah. And we didn't get off here. I don't remember ever.
I don't remember getting off except in McKinney.
Okay.
Only place I remember getting off.
And I don't know why Mother would be going to Dallas, but I just don't know. We don't know. Like I said, we didn't ask enough questions.
Something just occurred to me. You wearing a white shirt in the picture, and I remember when Daddy got that job at Timco, he had to wear a white shirt every day, and it had to cook the starch. You don't know about that.
Well, good. Tell us about cooking starch.
I can't tell you about cooking. I just know it
Can
had
you
to be
tell us
cooked.
about it?
Oh, it was awful, awful. First of all, we had the old ringer washer, which just ate up shirt collars. But Dad wore a white shirt 6 days a week. and they would have to put the starch on the stove in a big pot and cook it and dip the shirt in there and burn your fingers, and then you rolled it up real tight and you put it in a wet towel or something. And if it started getting dried out, then you had a sprinkler and you sprinkled water on it, and then you ironed it.
So that seems like a time-consuming process.
And
How
especially
long-
when you got 3 kids, like Mother had, and I don't remember Daddy ever doing any housework.
Now, he would fix things, work on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just.
But he
not-
didn't. He never cleaned or ironed or.
So how long does it take from the time you start cooking starch till you got a starch shirt? Just an idea.
Oh,
Can you
probably
people
30
that-
minutes.
30 minutes?
Yeah.
For one shirt?
One shirt.
Wow, and you can only do one at a time?
You get enough starch that you can dip them all and get them
Okay.
rolled up and put them in the wet towel.
Okay.
But once again, now we had to hang these out on the line too. After they're washed, we didn't have dryers. You hung them out on the line, and then you did the starch thing and rolled them up. And then if they started drying out, you sprinkled and then you ironed. And we didn't
Sprinkle
have,
water on? Okay.
and we didn't have fancy irons like they got now. So, and it was hot in the summer, hot, and not as hot as it is now.
Okay.
Yeah, ironing in the summertimes. Yes.
I know when I was a kid and had to start ironing, I would stay up at night and do it in the summer. 10, 11 o'clock at night, I'm in there.
So after the Interurban goes out of business, did y'all stay in McKinney? For
He went to
how
work.
long?
He went to work, like I said, for the lumber yard. Then he went to work for Timco, and this date has always stuck in our brains. February the 4th, 1954, we moved to Arlington,
Moved to Arlington,
bought a farm.
on a farm. Bet you couldn't find a farm in Arlington today.
Our farm is now many warehouses.
Really? Okay. All
I
right.
don't know if you know where California Lane and Cooper are in Arlington.
No.
That's where where the Parks Mall is.
Yes.
We were
Yes.
raised about 2 miles north of the Parks Mall.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know what Mother and Daddy paid for that farm.
I do.
What?
$6,500.
That's what I thought.
And 1 3/4 acres.
For how many?
1 3/4 acres.
1 3/4.
With a
Okay.
2-bedroom, 1-bath house.
And they sold it, when they sell it?
83.
83 for, no, 84, because I bought my house in 83, they sold it there in 84. They sold it for $3.55 a square foot.
Really?
Square.
Just under $250,000 for 1 3/4 acres.
Well, that was a good investment.
And Mother and Daddy thanked us because they went and found 2 different places. And they said, which one do y'all want? And we picked this one on California Lane, and that's where we moved to.
Well, back then, that's a long way from McKinney. How did you
50 miles.
find out about it?
I don't have any though.
I
And
don't.
how did you get there to go look at it?
We had a car.
Well, what'd you drive on? I mean, it wasn't 75 and-
157.
157,
Yeah.
and it went where?
From McKinney to it went from Allen or
Went 157 to, through Grapevine, and then it turned from Grapevine and went to,
we picked up 75 somewhere
you know,
and went.
Wow.
But 157 was this wide,
yeah, yeah.
and now it's 8 lanes or something. I don't know.
So 2-lane to 8
yeah,
lane?
yeah. And it was one of those round top, They just
Okay.
keep adding asphalt to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. How they found that? I guess they had a realtor. I don't know.
I don't know how they found it. I have no idea. I know they came, I know they went looking, and then they brought us looking.
They came and got us kids. And
And
Gail
then
was
we-
too little.
Something really funny. We went to school that morning, and Mother picked us up from school and brought us to Arlington.
On Friday afternoon, and on Sunday morning we're in church
In Arlington?
in Arlington.
Okay.
Monday in school.
Yeah, Monday in school we never got a break.
No break.
No break. No break. And my mother, when she died in 11, was still a member of that same church since 1954.
Is the church still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My brother belongs to it to this
Uh-huh.
day. Our younger brother, who has been over here, but he wasn't even thought of back when Daddy was with them in Urban. And you know what? If it had stayed in business, Daddy would have probably been there forever.
Yes.
You know, I said if the Interurban had been able to stay in business, Daddy would stay there. Would have been raised in McKinney.
I probably would have.
So he enjoyed it.
I think he did. I don't remember anything negative.
It was not back-breaking work, and he had to do back-breaking work. You know, so
Especially during the Depression era.
yeah. Our grandfather was not a good provider. I was trying to think of a nice way to say this. And so Daddy had to go to work very young.
I was a
Working
big surprise
hard.
that he finished high school.
Yeah.
And he made good grades too. I saw his report cards one time.
Did you?
Yeah.
I never saw.
It may be somewhere, I got carried off from most. We had to get out of Mother's apartment within a few days because,
It was very expensive.
and it was very expensive when they had to pay rent again. So carry stuff home, and I just,
It is still sitting where he took it.
I'll be there. But I did keep the cap, and I found this, some of their stuff.
And you're welcome to go make a copy of that.
Well, yeah, we want to make a copy of that for sure.
I wish I had Daddy's name on there, but it doesn't.
So it comes out to about $1 an hour, or a little less. Yeah, we want to copy that. Well, any other motorman interurban before we wrap up?
I can't think of anything. I think I already said about everything I know about that time.
I will tell you one other thing. Daddy had a brother. His brother also worked for the Interurban.
Really?
The brother has one daughter. She was born after the Interurban went out of business, so she knows less about it than we do. But yeah,
So what did his brother do?
I don't know what position he had, but he did the Waco route from
Okay.
Dallas to Waco.
Dallas
I don't
to
know where
Waco.
they lived. I have no clue. I don't know when they married. I don't know when he worked for him. I had been in contact with my cousin, and like I said, she knows less than we do.
So one brother could take you from Denison to Dallas, and another brother take you from Dallas to Waco.
Waco.
That's a good story. And his name is
William Morrow.
William Morrow.
William Eugene Morrow.
William Eugene Morrow.
And he was in the war too. So.
Yeah, he was in World War II in the Pacific and got wounded.
Yeah.
I don't know when he went. Like I said, I've told you everything I know about.
So he would have been after the war too, working on it. And it was a job that didn't require a lot of physical
Yeah, a lot of skills or,
taxing your body the way a lot of manual labor jobs were back then.
And did they have to have a license to operate an Interurban or
No, I'm sure
hire on and here's the switch and here's how you do it?
the only pressure they had was having wrecks, because they would fine them, and I imagine they would fire them if they had too many wrecks. And I think as it went on and you had more roads and more railroad crossings, there were more chances of having an
that may have been
accident.
one of the reasons it didn't. Well, of course, the automobile came in.
Mhm.
I live in Arlington, and when I was growing up in Arlington, we moved to Arlington when I was in 5th grade. And later on, as a schoolboy, I heard about Death Crossing in Arlington. Didn't know where Death Crossing was for a long, long time. And then finally, I did find out where it was, and I drove through the intersection. But two roads kind of angled. Division Street or 180 went to Arlington before we went from Dallas to Fort Worth and on. But Abel Street kind of angled down, and they had kind of merged in there, and then you crossed over to Division to keep on going west. And there was a crossing there, and an interurban car hit a automobile there and killed some people. And that's the story I heard, but I don't know. I don't have any evidence of that.
So that would have been the Dallas to Fort Worth route.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's that Fielder, and also there's another street crossed in there. So there's Division, Abrams, and Fielder.
I don't know if was the Fielder even there back then?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
And a railroad track.
And
And that railroad track is
yeah.
still there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And right next to that Fielder Road is Fielder House, where somebody named Fielder lived when the founders of Arlington. And out in front of that Fielder House, next to April Street, is a little, kind of like a little ticket booth, not near as big as this room. And across the street is a Masonic home, and this is a story I just heard a couple of years ago. There's a tunnel from the Masonic home under Abrams, under Division, under the railroad tracks, under Abrams. It was, I don't know if it's still there now or not. For people from the Masonic home to walk through that tunnel and come up on the south side of the tracks, buy a ticket, and catch the Interurban there.
Okay. Well, that's a good story.
That is.
So they just had it was just a little ticket booth. Could you
It's
go
like
inside, or
Uh,
it wasn't even big enough to go inside?
maybe not even big enough. It's probably maybe 6 by 8 or something like
6
that.
by
Maybe
8.
10 or something small. The little building is still there. And it wasn't sitting there originally, but they still have the building, the basic building, of course, it's been repaired and everything over the years. But yeah, it's out there in front of the.
And that Masonic home is still there.
You know, the Sonic home is still there too. And I'd like to check on. I need to go back over there and check on that tunnel. That'd be fun to see that.
That would be.
It's the Fielder Museum. They might know more about it.
They probably do.
And
Probably do.
that was all they had. They did what they could.
Hmm.
It's like Daddy, he did what he could.
Yeah.
He always made a living for us. He got laid off at Pimco, and he worked at 7-Eleven. He worked at the toll booth when 30 was a toll road. He always worked.
Finally got some kind of government assistance, went to a machinist school and studied machining, but he just got too old. He couldn't do the work anymore, and transferred to LTV supplies warehouse and finished out his time there. So he retired.
Yeah, he finally retired from there. And they traveled all over the world after that.
Really?
I've got a picture of Daddy and Mother riding camels in Israel. Yeah.
Was that from
Egypt.
that farm money sold in the farm?
That's right. They bought a house and even before they sold the farm. That was all Mother wanted to do was travel. Daddy said,
Good for them.
Daddy said when he turned 65, he said, I'm retiring March 31st. And he said, I'm going to sit in front of the TV and I'm not doing a thing. And Mother said, you're going to be lonesome because I'm traveling. Daddy got up and got moving.
we call that farm. It's 1 3/4 acres.
Yeah, it was a farm to us. It was huge.
Yeah.
And we had nice homes in McKinney. But
Probably still there.
they
There's
are.
a lot of those homes are still there. in
But,
McKinney.
yeah.
In
I know
historic
it's
district.
been about 7 or 8, 9 years ago. I went to McKinney, went down Bradley Street, and I know those houses are still there.
We own money they built. He bought half of the city block. Had the rectangular city block. And
Yes,
down through the middle. He bought half of it, half the city block. It's probably kind of on the edge of town then, I guess.
Yeah.
He built a house in the corner and sold the second one. And I think about the 4th or 5th one was sold. But then Gail, our little sister, was on the way. So they built another house on the 3rd lot. And it was a bigger house on the 3rd lot. And one day he had 8 $100 bills for selling some of those lots. And
We thought it was a bloody fortune. Excuse me.
That's fine.
It's probably could have been months of work, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of money. I know when we moved to Arlington, our house payments were $35 a month.
Wow.
And they did. And Mother said that. I remember Mother told me we didn't know how we was going to make those payments.
Yeah.
And Uncle Daddy worked at LTV and took on $60 a week or
Yeah.
65 or something. I don't know.
See, she had 2 more kids after we moved to Arlington. So, but she raised everything we ate. So, if it hadn't been for that, we'd probably had to go to work when we were, 10, 11 years old, like kids had to do back then.
We never did without. We always had something.
Never figured out how they did it. How did your parents do it raising you? You don't know.
Yeah, they just worked.
Yeah. Well, but Mother didn't work. That's a joke.
Yeah.
She raised everything we ate.
Oh yeah, she's out there sometime, spring, summer, out there, sun up, working that garden.
Yeah. We had a garden as big as this building.
So what did she raise in the garden?
Everything we had: corn, black-eyed peas, lettuce, carrots, you name it. Okra.
Yeah.
She raised every kind of vegetable there was. And then we had cows, she even raised pigs at one time. Those were nasty.
Oh, yeah.
She had chickens.
Chickens?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she raised everything, but we had to buy flour and sugar and shortening. And back then, Safeway was in Arlington. And we would go to Safeway and they would have like sugar for 5 pounds for 10 cents. But flour they did, and Crisco shortening. You know, we fried everything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they'd have flour for $1 a bag. And she'd line all of us up and give us $1, and we'd each go get our bag of flour. And it would last, 6 months. But
When they don't sell it.
yeah, we were not allowed to.
Never had a soda.
Oh no, we didn't.
Never had ice cream. We had candy sometimes.
Yeah, but sometimes on Sunday we'd go over to Meadowbrook Park. There was a little hamburger stand. You could get 5 hamburgers for $1.
Yeah. We buy so much for $1.
And we'd go over there and get 10 hamburgers because there were 7 of us back then. And Daddy would buy a 6-pack of Coke. And Danny and Phil had to split one because they were babies. Had to split one. And all of us got. Now that was a treat for us.
Yeah.
And when we lived in McKinney, we went to the root beer place.
Yeah.
Got a root beer float for a nickel.
Every once in a while.
For a nickel.
Yeah.
Not often.
But I remember going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was our treats. But you know what? I took band in high school, starting in junior high.
And had a clarinet.
Mother and Daddy bought me a brand new clarinet. Gail took flute in high school, junior high and high school.
Yeah,
She had a brand new flute. One year I wanted a record player for Christmas. I don't know how they did it, but I got a record player. We had to share it, but kept it in my room. But we don't have
I don't know what that thing cost. I don't have any idea what.
but it came from Western Auto.
What it did.
They had a credit card for Western
A
Auto.
credit card?
Yes.
At Western Auto
That credit,
in the 1950s. Wow.
and we went to the doctor, if we were sick or something, and Mother paid $10 a month to the doctor. Every month, forever.
I always went up sick.
Yeah. With 5 kids, you always got somebody sick or hurt or, something going on. $10 a month to that doctor forever. But, once again, we don't know how they did it. We always had a car. They bought their first new car in 1959, and they married in 39. They bought their first new car. It did not have a heater. It did not have a radio. It did not have an air conditioner. We had 4 wheels and a
4 wheels and a motor. It had windows.
You call it business sedan. It's supposed to be like for a work car or something like that. That's what they call a business sedan.
with the stick on the
Yeah, the
column.
one, two,
column
three.
stick, yeah.
I've driven one of those a
Yeah.
long
I learned
time
to
ago.
drive on that 59 Ford with the column stick. Yeah, you taught me how to do the shifting.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, we
okay,
appreciate
y'all.
your time.
I appreciate it a lot. We want to make a copy of this. And,
Okay.
let's go talk to Russ about where that picture is.